Welcome to Coffee with the Candidates. I have Terry Crandall with me here today, and he is running for the Yankton School Board. Terry, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Nancy.
Let's get started. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been living in Yankton since 1980. I came here as a counselor in the high school, for the high school, and was there for 33 years. Went on to USD for 7 years and now fully retired, except I'm a volunteer at the Red Cross. I do a lot of work with them, going places around the country and so forth with disaster mental health. But for the most part, you know, I do stuff around the house. I garden, and more importantly too, I have 3 children. All 3 were graduates of Yankton High School. I've got 3 grandchildren who are currently in the school district right now. So I do have a vested interest in the school district. I believe very heavily in Yankton. We were from Sioux Falls, Catherine, my wife and I originally, and we always felt like going back to Sioux Falls would be the ideal thing. But once we moved to Yankton and stayed in Yankton, this is our hometown, really truly. I've been here for over half my life, and it's a very important place to me, and what happens at Yankton is very important to me, which is probably epitomized by the fact that I was on the city commission for 5 terms, I was mayor for 3 terms, and now I'm running for my 3rd term as a member of the school board, because I want to show my faith and my trust in the community, and the people of this community too are very important to me, and what they feel and what they say.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for all the community service and all of the aspects that you've served throughout the years.
Thank you, Nancy.
So can you tell me why you are running for another term on the Yankton School Board?
I feel the issues at hand are so important to us right now that I needed to run for a 3rd term. I can't say it's going to be my final term because I hate saying never to never. So I thought maybe my 2nd term would be my final term. However, I do feel like the issues facing us are important, looking at some very important events that will be coming up in the district, and also look back at the accomplishments we've had so far in our district. And I feel very strongly that we've done some marvelous things to help the people, the students, the staff, and the community out.
So can you talk a little bit more about what some of those priority projects might be that you want to see to the finish line?
Well, number 1 is communication, and keeping communication up with the parents and doing the best thing we can to enhance that. Probably as far as the project's concerned, the biggest thing is our Early Childhood Development Center. This is an amazing initiative, I think, based on solid research. We're going to have preschool, kindergarten students all in the same building, the same location, and we're going to build a brand new building. This will not be at the expense of the taxpayers. It's going to be totally done through our capital outlay funds, which is a way for us to accrue money to enable us to do projects and things like that. Well, we were able to accumulate enough to develop this important project for young people. Having these young people in the same building is such an educationally sound, research-validated idea, because then you have the faculty surrounding these students, the same ones that can go through, and it's such a transition year. When you take students out of the home or out of preschool and put them in a school environment, it is a little different thing. And for them to share that same experience all together really gives them a catapult into the next part of their education. So I feel very strongly this is an initiative for Yankton. And once again, Yankton is proving itself to be a leader amongst other schools in the state in regards to this kind of initiative.
So we were a leader when it came to free preschool. That was something Yankton Thrive had been promoting quite a bit because other communities were not offering that as a part of their school district. And in full disclosure, both Terry and I served on the Early Childhood Development Committee and attended many of those meetings that were run by a consulting group hired by the school district that helped lead the community down that road of trying to find a good fit for what works for Yankton with the education system. And so there's a much larger plan that goes along with that. And those will be held at a public meeting. There'll be some more discussion. Do you remember off the top of your head the date of that? I can't remember.
I can't recall the exact date. It's in April. I can't remember the exact date right now. I should, but I don't know.
Yeah, so we would encourage people to also look that up and attend the public meeting and learn more about that Early Childhood Development Center.
That's right.
So as an elected official, it's hard to put aside your personal beliefs and represent the majority of the constituents that you represent. Can you give me an example of how you do that as a Yankton School Board member?
It's very difficult. because my personal beliefs have been honed over a long period of time, but I do believe the people's opinion is important, and I've listened to people. And the one thing I have going for me too is I have a pretty large group of people in the school district and staff, administration, and so forth that I worked with back in the day, and I also get some great feedback from those individuals as well. And my mind's been changed so many times that I feel like laundry. It's simply a matter of trying to listen to the best advice you possibly can get. And believe me, I'm the first to admit I don't know everything. So the thing that frustrates me the most, Nancy, is the fact that my name's in the phone book. Our email address is in our school website. Contacting us is not a mystery. We can do that. And I've, over the years, and I'm city commission as well. And when I think of the topics we covered during those times and during the times I'm on the school board, probably the thing I got the most feedback was masking, probably. But aside of that, I hardly have gotten anything from anybody about anything. You see comments every now and then about stuff. School board doesn't listen. Well, it's hard to listen when you don't hear what's going on. So I believe those aspects are important. So I would encourage anybody out there, whether you vote for me or not, please contact me or contact the other board members or whatever, because how they develop their ideas, how they decide to vote is based on a lot of things, not just their own feelings.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And sometimes it's the loudest voice that seems to get the most attention. And that's why having more people reach out to share their opinions on things they might want to look at differently, or supportive comments for decisions that get made, is also very helpful.
When I was a very young city commissioner, I was told by a wise and old person, I think his name was Bill Ross, that you can't always trust the people in the room, because when there might be 50 people in a room yelling about some subject, there's also thousands out in the community who feel the exact opposite. So you have to not just go by don't base your vote on mob emotions, but base it on what you feel is the betterment of the whole community. But quite frankly too, Nancy, sometimes you make decisions that maybe not be popular with people, but it's the right decision. And so sometimes you have to bite the bullet and make the right decision, no matter what kind of attacks you might receive because of it.
Mm-hmm. So partnerships and collaborations with other entities in Yankton and the region, around the state, and even nationally are critically important. Can you tell us what you would do to help strengthen existing relationships or collaborations, and how you might help grow new ones?
The new ones, I think we need to find through our business community. And I believe that we've done an excellent job reaching out to the business community over the years, doing our outreach development, doing things like industrial tours and such as that, and also bringing in groups to talk to our students about careers and career development and so forth. And also, as far as our development, our reaching out through the community, we do a lot of, or throughout other entities. We do a lot of work through associated school boards, to the South Dakota Education Association, through our state legislators and the state government and so forth, and national government too, doing a lot through lobbying efforts and communication efforts and so forth. So, and you're always trying to develop alliances. The more ways you can find people who will go along with you on part A, and you'll go along with them on part B, the more often you can achieve part C, the whole picture. So I believe those alliances are very important, and any way we can find to reach out to others to make us a stronger school district, recognizing we can't do everything alone. We must receive help from others, advice from others, and support from others.
So I did want to follow up if there's anything else you wanted to add on the Early Childhood Development Center. Well,
as an educator, and person who was certified K through 12 back in the day, I really do feel like those young kids they're just a sponge for learning, but also in the same side of things, they're a sponge in socializing too, and having them all in the same area is such a key thing for me. And we need to develop this center, and again, the key is not cost the taxpayer any money to develop this initial project and to put it into fruition. and also take some pressure off of our aging elementary schools here in town. That's a key too. But we need to do things more to look at our younger childhood development. I know from a counselor standpoint that how a student is reached as those younger years, the way we reach out to them in those early years is the most important thing. I went through cumulative files of students when I was a counselor at the high school, and in those cumulative files, they had pictures of students. And if you pulled a file of a troubled student, sometimes you'd see that picture, and when they were in kindergarten, they're so happy and looking forward to life in first grade and second grade. And then around fourth and fifth and sixth grade, that gleam begins to fade, that smile begins to fade. And if those kids aren't reached at those early ages, that's when we see issues arise. Having teachers have more contact, better contact, and thorough contact for our students at a young age, starting out early, is key to childhood development throughout the years.
So one of the other aspects of the Early Childhood Development Center is children with disabilities right now are not with their peers. Can you talk a little bit more about how that might be handled within the Early Childhood Development
Well, it's
Center?
all going to be located in the same place, and so they'll be integrated in the same classroom in as best cases as they can. And it is extremely important for our kids with developmental needs to be placed amongst their peers so they can model those peers, see those peers, make friends with those peers, and are able to better grow in an educational standpoint. We know that students who are exposed, students who are exposed in a very limited environment grow to that environment. Students who are exposed in a more outreaching environment will grow, will expand in that environment. So that's why it's so important that those kids be along with, and they are throughout the district generally speaking, but it seems like if we have them integrated better with our other students, that's going to make for better progress for their lives.
So for the viewing audience who might not be aware, can you just explain quickly how it currently is set up within the district?
Each building has their own special education center. We have children who are severely disabled at Stewart School right now. But for the most part, every school, all our 4 elementary schools, our middle school and our high school, have discrete education centers where students go. Now, they are integrated into the classroom as best as possible, but it's not to the fullest extent that we'd like to have. One thing that's so important is we don't rest on our laurels. We can't just sit back and say we're doing a great job and everything's fine. We need to look at more innovative ways to do things. And even though we're probably doing things just great right now, isn't there a way we can do that better? Isn't that a way we're going to reach out and find a way to help those kids to develop in the best way possible? Are we doing that now? Maybe. Can we do a better job? I think so.
So in closing, is there something that you want to mention today that was not a part of the previously asked questions that will help the voters decide if you have earned their vote?
Well, I'd like to think that over the years, I've done what you've asked me to do for the most part. I feel like I've been an honest purveyor of the people of Yankton. I hope I've been approachable to you. If you've asked me questions, if you felt like you needed to know what's going on, you could approach me and ask me things. Also, I've been a part of your students' lives. I was a counselor at the high school for 33 years, and you knew me. For the most part, you trusted me. I helped your child. I may have helped you too. And through those years, I hope that I developed the trust that I'm asking you to give me for a third term of the Yankton School Board.
Well, Terry, thank you very much for joining us today. And I want to remind the voters, April 12th is the election day, and this is for the Yankton School Board. The school board district is wider than the City of Yankton voting district, so you might live outside of city limits but still be in the Yankton School District. So please do your research, and if applicable, please get out and vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy.